Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, Coloring and Comments, a channel where I color in mandalas and talk to you about various topics that are on my mind. And today we'll be continuing the Inner Child series. We'll be exploring 8 ways to start and continue the healing process. And I chose 8 ways because 8 is the number of new beginnings. And when you start healing, you start anew. But before we get into the 8 ways, let's do a brief recap of the previous video. What exactly is the inner child? And how do we know that the inner child needs healing? Well, we know that most of us didn't have the perfect childhood. We experienced various forms of trauma when we were children. But because we were children, we didn't have the skills or the knowledge to work through and process the trauma. Therefore, a part of us remains carrying that trauma. So a part of us remains stuck at that age, not knowing how to handle this trauma. So as we grow older and we experience things that remind us of the trauma, it is the younger part of us that reacts. And often the reaction does not make sense in any given situation. And that's why sometimes you say, oh, why is that person behaving like a child? And that is because it is the child that is responding to any given trigger. So, how do we start the healing process? I made notes and that's because I didn't want to forget anything. So, number 1, you have to acknowledge the presence and the existence of the inner child. Healing can only take place when you acknowledge that there is parts of me that are still hurt because of things that happened in my past. Number 2, you need to listen to the inner child. So after acknowledging that, okay, my inner child is wounded, you need to listen so that you know how exactly have I been hurt and what aspects of myself react to that hurt and how do I react to that hurt, so that you know how best to start dealing with that hurt. And we see a lot of the times these feelings look like anger or frustration or insecurity. And I'll give you a small example. So imagine you invited a friend over for lunch and at the last minute your friend cancels and say, oh, I can't make it. Immediately you feel rejected, you feel upset, and you feel like this person doesn't love you. But then you have to realize that's the inner child that's responding. Because perhaps there was a time in your childhood where you didn't feel loved, where you felt rejected, where you felt unwanted. But then your adult self then realizes that, look, this person didn't say they don't love me. This person simply said that they can't make it today. And them not being able to make it does not change the way they love me or they view me. So the only way you can get to that connection is if you actually listen to the inner child. Number 3, writing letters. So with letter writing, you want the inner child to express themselves, but also you're writing the letter from an adult's perspective. And what I see often in letter writing is that the inner child will ask a question, but then the adult self will answer, because now as an adult, you are better equipped to fully understand the situation that took place and also fully understand how to navigate the emotions that come with that specific event. And I'll give you a brief example by reading a letter that I wrote to myself. So, yeah, the letter states, there are moments when ideas of what I want to do pop in my head. But with these ideas comes a crippling sense of fear. Fear of being rejected or ostracized. I then wonder if these ideas represent the true aspects of who I am. And that maybe the fear arises because I was taught to be anything but myself. So you'll see there me asking myself, is my creative self my true self, or am I supposed to be this little individual in a box? And like I said previously, I wanted to become a writer, but then I didn't become a writer because I was expected to be something that earned a lot of money, and apparently writers don't earn that. So whenever I wish to express myself in writing as an adult, my inner child reacts by saying, no, we are not allowed to do that. Let's not do that because we'll get into trouble. And that I only realized through letter writing. Number 4, meditation. Meditation is such a beautiful thing because it allows you and brings you back into the present moment. It allows you to notice and experience these emotions, but also it allows you to realize that you are not these emotions. You are separate from these emotions. So although you experience anger and frustration and rejection, it does not mean you are an angry person or that the entire world has rejected you. During meditation, we used to do this great exercise with my meditation coach, and she would have us meditate. And then any emotion that comes up, we will then label that emotion. So we'll label it, we'll say maybe it's fear or anger. And then after we label it, we put it in the dustbin. Because now we say, when I feel this type of way in my body, it represents anger. And it's okay to feel the anger, but the anger is not who I am. Therefore, we put it in the bin. So helping your inner child realize that they are not the cause of how they're feeling, and that how they're feeling shouldn't consume who they are. Number 5, allow the inner child to journal. Journaling is a free flow of words, and a lot of the times through journaling you allow your subconscious to come through. And you will see that as you journal, you will start writing a lot of things that you didn't even realize hurt you in the past. You write things that your mind might have blocked out because it is trying to protect you from this trauma. And as you journal and as you let your inner child express themselves through writing, you then look back and see, how have these past childhood events affected the way that I behave today? And how then can I act and change things? Or how then can I heal myself in order to break this pattern that I no longer want in my life? Number 6, be playful. Adulting is hard. And you're always stressed as an adult because you're taught that you need to always be serious and always do things, and you can't be your true self at any given time because then you're slacking. But you need to give yourself the space and the grace to feel joy, to feel happiness. And this can be in the small things, like allowing yourself to spend an entire Saturday binge watching your favorite shows on Netflix, or taking a walk with your friend, or eating ice cream with your nieces and nephews. And by allowing yourself to feel this joy and to feel this happiness, you tell the inner child that it's okay for them to feel positive emotions. It's okay for them to feel happy and joyful, that this is the type of emotions that they are allowed to experience without feeling ashamed or afraid. Number 7, leave the light on. I say this because healing is a journey. You are constantly learning and unlearning things. So you always want to leave the door open for your inner child to speak to you, for your inner child to tell you when situations are uncomfortable or tell you when they're feeling afraid. So constantly keeping that relationship between you and the inner child. And then lastly, therapy. I know there's a lot of stigma surrounding therapy, but therapy is so important because therapy creates a safe space where you can unpack emotions that might be too hard to do by yourself. Also, therapy allows you to fully understand how past traumas affect your current behavior as an adult, and it also gives you the tools to break these patterns, like practical tools to break these patterns and form new behavioral patterns that serve you. I know that healing is not easy, and inner child healing is really scary because it forces you to go to places that you thought were healed or places that you didn't even know existed. But allow yourself that grace. Realize that it's never too late to start healing. And if someone didn't tell you this today, know that you are loved, know that you are worthy, and know that your feelings are valid. May your day be colorful and wonderful. Make sure you like, comment, and share and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.